back to another Circle of the World video. Today we're going to be doing another tier list. I am your host, Harrison, the Adeptus Historical, and the tier list today is going to be on the battles in the First Law. I think I have included all of them here. Recently we've been doing polls on the First Law battles and the sieges, and it's been a lot of fun to see what people think about them. So today I figured I'd throw in my opinion. I know what George and Jeff's favorites are as well. And I know I said I wasn't going to make them, but I figured out how to make them, and then it's not that hard, so I was bitching over nothing. So, let's see. First off, we got Stauffenberg. S tier, baby. This is mine and George's favorite battle. Well, not including the heroes, which I'll get to that in a minute. Stauffenberg is brilliantly written. It's got all of the good aspects that Joe already has inside of all his other battles. It's got the push and pull that feels like an actual battle. It's got the different areas on the battlefield that are different things are happening. It's got the background commander stuff. It's got the visceral in-character experience being on the front lines. There's a pike wall, as I'm sure you guys are aware, in the Little People chapter of that. I don't know if it's actually called Little People. I always forget the name of it. But it is so well done because you get to actually feel like you are that soldier caught up in the line battle rather than just being in the back. And it's really intense. It's claustrophobic. There's extreme amounts of character culmination especially between Orso and Leo den Brock, and it's definitely, in my opinion, his best battle, except for the heroes, which has a whole book dedicated to it. You could just read this alone, and it's intense as hell. And with the build up, the entire book leading to that battle, it has a different feeling than a lot of the other battles, where the battle is the background, or the battle is only halfway through the book. This actually feels like everything is built up for the battle. The battle in the high places. This is everybody's favorite, apparently, other than the heroes, obviously. When we did the polls recently, everybody seemed to absolutely love this. Everyone mentioned it in the Sieges one, and it was the highest voted one, followed by Stauffenberg in the poll, which makes sense. It's got this amazing POV for Logan throughout the entire battle. It's more of a smaller scale battle, but its consequences are pretty wide-standing. It has that claustrophobic feeling that Stauffenberg has, but it also feels kind of a Helm's Deep sort of situation, like his own version of Helm's Deep, where it's this epic battle that takes place day after day. It's really grueling, but also has a certain epic feeling to it of them holding the wall in the high places. And I like that it's not the final battle, but it is the climax of that war. The heroes, obviously, you gotta go in S tier. I know, it's like they're all S tier. The heroes has a whole book dedicated to it. The entire book, and some of these, you gotta include some setup to it, right? Because that's the payoff of it. The heroes, the entire book is dedicated to it. It's no way you can't put it in the top one. I don't know how Joe is able to create such a well-oiled machine that is that book. Every single time you read it, you can't stop reading it. And I know it's talking about the book, but the book is the battle. So credit where credit's due. It's gotta go out there, man. If you haven't read the heroes, you have to read it, because it's a war book that kind of feels like the Battle of Gettysburg, but it's in the First Law universe, and it has a sort of different feeling than it would if it was in our world. But it plays out like one of our battles in our history. It's very cool. Osprey. Osprey is kind of a weird one. I really like Osprey. It has a certain amount of cinematic position. It feels like a little Total War battle. It's a much smaller scale than these other ones up here. It's probably more in scale with the high places. You got a couple thousand men on each side. But Osprey, it's got this epic moment of the soldiers of Duke Orso soldiers coming across the river. And I'm sorry for those who don't remember about Osprey. This battle is whenever Monza and Duke Rogant are facing off against Duke Orso's forces. Casca is supposed to basically cross the river and flank Monza's forces and just destroy them, but Casca doesn't do anything because he knows Monza's on the other side, and it's not exactly clear why he doesn't. He says he's getting paid, but it's more like just because he loves Monza, and so he's like, fuck it, I'm not going to do anything. And then the Duke of Sapani, I forgot his name. The Duke of Sapani ends up actually coming in and attacking Orso's rear. Completely destroys the army. But this battle is very cool because you get the different POVs between Shivers, Monza. We even get some details of the front lines in Sharp Ends later on. And Monza leaves this charge down in the river to try to hold the line. It's got this smaller scale, it's very descriptive. Like you actually feel the weight of the battle. In that it's about to shift into one way and then it gets saved, and then you're about to shift in another way and then it gets saved. It's just a well-written battle that's not as large scale as the others, but I really like it. I might move this in a minute, depending on where I put the others, but we'll see. I think it's a good battle. Fontesarmo. This is one I'm going to put down here. A lot of you won't remember it. Fontesarmo is the battle or the siege that takes place at the end of Best Served Cold. Whenever Casca is sieging out the fortress of Fontesarmo, where Orso is held out is one last time. I think it's north of Talons. It's like on the coast. It's kind of we skip most of the actual siege itself, and they've been assaulting it, and we go with Monza and Shivers and Friendly assaulting the fortress itself in this one last push. It's kind of epic, it's kind of fiery, but it's more focused on the characters in the battle. There is some battle elements, there is some siege elements, but this is like the climax. This is it's more of a set piece than the actual battle itself. But I feel like I needed to include it simply because it is in a battle, and we do see the outcome of it, and it is built up all this time. And it does have some really cool moments. I know on all these ones, I'm including the character, not just the battle itself, but what's happening with the characters. The High Places has the slogan stuff. Stauffenberg has the Orso, Leo, push and pull. The Heroes has a whole book dedicated to it. Osprey has the Monza versus Duke Orso with Casca in the background. You know, the characters are part of it. So because of that, Fontesarmo is still going to be on the list. It just, compared to the other ones, it's not as good. Again, as always, this list isn't like, oh, D is bad. D is not bad. D just means I like it less than the others. Just trying to break it up, if that makes sense. Battle of Red Hill. It's kind of a hard one. Battle of Red Hill is the battle in A Little Hatred. Whenever Stour Nightfall is attacking England, and England is backed up by the Dogman, and he's up in that small fortress, the rundown ruin up on the tower, up on a hill, and then Finri is holding the main line with her guys, and Leo's in the background. This one feels more like a standard battle. It's got this really epic charge done by Leo at the end when they try to drive them across the river. I love that charge sequence. And Rika seeing the guy coming out of the forest, and then they're not believing her, and then it happening, seeing the nail, I believe. It's very unique. It adds a different layer to the battle, and when you're trying to figure all that long eye stuff out, which I have a long eye video coming out soon here. But it is a very cool battle, but it's also kind of bland. It doesn't go exactly the way you intend it. You don't get to see as much of the action. It's more of a, oh, here comes the forces, they're clashing. All of our POVs are kind of in the back until the end of the battle whenever Leo charges in. So, I mean, I like the battle fine. It's a battle. I just I'm gonna put it in C tier. It's really not that amazing. I think it belongs there. Agila. I think Agila is better than Osprey. Yeah. Agila's got this. I'm talking about the siege, of course. So it's basically the last third of Last Argument of Kings. It's a very epic, especially on scale. You know, you have like 75,000 men on each side clashing with each other at the end there. It's really epic to see West come in and save the day with his army, but it also has this claustrophobic feeling that comes with a huge army going into a city. It ends in a bittersweet way because they beat the Gurkish, but by the end there, you don't really think even the Gurkish are that bad. You just hate the Eaters, and you don't like Kal-ul. We also get this big reveal of who Baez, what his kind of actual intentions are. How he's all like, I'm more powerful than Euz himself. It was such a revelationary moment. Jezal becoming a king in his own right in that battle, in that siege. He's like the hero of the people. He's like charging in, becoming a war leader. It's really cool to see him get harder. Granted, at the end, he gets shafted by Baez and kind of put in his place, quote unquote. But the battle is got this just epic, wide scale. It's probably the most like pivotal battle in the First Law in terms of like epic, big, crazy stuff going on. Staffenbeck is smaller scale and has a huge consequences, but at the same time, the breakers and the great change is going to happen either way. The High Places battle is very pivotal and key, but it's also not quite as grand standing as them. The Heroes is absolutely epic, but it's also just one battle, and the outcome is kind of iffy anyways. Agila is actually like, holy crap, this is like a big deal. The Union capital is being attacked, and if they were just a little faster, then they probably would have killed at least the king, killed Jezal, and it would have turned out to be an interesting scenario, to say the least. So I'm going to put it in A tier there. Daguska. I'm going to put Daguska. A lot of people love this one as a siege, but I think we get caught up as well with Galacta. It's absolutely an amazing siege, but we only get Galacta's POV, and Galacta's, oh my god, he's the best character, alright? Him and Logan are the best characters ever. But that being said, I don't think in terms of a battle, in terms of a siege even, because we just get one perspective, I don't enjoy it as much in terms of that aspect of it being a siege or a battle. It's much more fun. It's just a weird word to use for a battle. We get Casca up on the walls. We get the first time we get to see Gurkha siege engines with the black powder, the gunpowder. That's what it is. And it's got this big feeling of, wow, it really ramps up the scale of the First Law with it being a big siege set piece. But if we're in terms of being a battle or a siege, it's just, I don't think it deserves an S tier spot. In terms of like writing overall, Daguska is absolutely amazing, but this is just the siege, the battle aspect of Daguska. And yes, it's so brilliantly written, so well paced, and all the background stuff is amazing. But I don't think it deserves to be in the S tier spot just in the aspect of the battles. I'm sure somebody's gonna be pissed. Battle of the Cumner. I think it's better than Fontesarmo because it actually feels like a battle. But the Cumner feels a little bland, especially compared to the other battles, because we only get West perspective, and whenever they're attacking, it's really intimidating. I really like the atmosphere of this fight, because whenever you have Bethar, who's just absolutely shits on Ladislaw and crushes him absolutely, it's kind of satisfying. And I love the mist coming out. I love how you don't get to see what's going on. It's chaotic. It's kind of scary. The Northmen come around with the cavalry. it's really cool to see that genius of Bethod's on the battlefield as a tactician. But it's also, it's not quite as, the consequences aren't quite as intense, and we don't really get to see much of the actual battle itself once that mist rolls in. It's kind of just, you get to see the aftermath of it, basically. So for that reason, I want to put it in C tier. I don't think it's better than Red Hill at all. Definitely think it's better than Fontesarmo. Breck. Breck is really awesome. But whenever I think about these other battles, I don't think it's as good as the other ones. This is Jeff's favorite battle. So if it was Jeff's list, it'd be up here. He loves that holding the line chapter, man. And so credit to everybody who loves Breck. This is just the subjective opinion. This is just the Adeptus Historical's opinion. I really like Breck. That holding line chapter is really, really good. And you really feel like this, it kind of feels like the most normal fantasy, like hold the line kind of stuff. 3 trees dies. It has that weight to it. Cathil dies. And seeing Finish the Fear come out of the force of the Shanka is always just it's so well written. The only problem I have with it, and why I don't think it's as good as these others, is because you have the Dogman and Wes perspective. Wes is just trying to keep the people from bothering Burr as Burr is like dying. But there's a certain amount of strategy in it, especially before the battle, which is really cool. And it's supposed to be this big culmination of them trying to crush Bethod. But I just, whenever we compare it to these other battles, for me personally, I don't think it's as good as Osprey. I just don't think it's as well written as Osprey when you include all the factors. I don't think it's as well written as Daguska, or as like as entertaining as Daguska. I don't think it's as epic as Agila, and definitely not better than the top 3 up there. So I think Breck belongs there. It's done wonderfully. All of these are done wonderfully. Even Fontesarmo. Carleon. And for those who don't remember, Carleon is the battle at the end of the Wisdom of Crowds, where the forces of Rika, between the West Valleys, the Hillmen, and Ufrith, all come around Calder's Eastmen and his forces and crush them absolutely at the gates of Carleon. It's a pretty epic battle, and there's a lot of different perspectives, but it's quick and extremely satisfying. I don't think it's better than Breck, but it is quite cool to see them just whip on in there and wipe them out to finally beat Calder is pretty awesome. Now, I like Calder as a character. I'm not trying to say he's not a good character or something. Absolutely love him. I just mean, like, in the perspective of the story, it's cool to finally see that be done with. Obviously, it's not done with because he's, like, got a son or some shit. Which, feel how you will about that. Some people don't like how Rika is basically, her plan fits perfectly. Well, one, if she has a long eye, of course her plan's going to go perfectly. She already knows what's going to happen. If she doesn't have the long eye, give her some credit. You think Calder's super smart. Calder is smart, but he is not as smart as he likes to pretend he is, or how much he likes others to think he is. So I really like that battle, but I just don't think it's as good as the other ones, even Breck. It's not as stretched out or as epic feeling as the others. It's more of a smaller scale, satisfying, tactical battle. And that's everything. There was one I think I forgot to put on here, which was on the Siege tier list, which was Viscerine, the Siege of Viscerine, it's kind of iffy. It's the battle or siege where Duke Orso sieges out Viscerine, and he's like chunking Gurkish fire over the walls, and Casca and Friendly are in the Rebel trying to find stuff, and then later on Shivers loses an eye. It's not really a battle. I put it under the sieges because it is a siege for sure. So if I was to place it in here, it'd be below Fontesarmo because it's less so a battle. It's got a unique set piece, and I like the atmosphere of that one. It kind of feels like the Cumner. It actually feels like a siege, and the Cumner feels like a battle. But it's obviously we only get a little bit of that aspect. So that's why I didn't place it on here. I kind of just forgot. But it would be in D tier. just simply because it's not as good as any of the others at all. But it is still interesting. So that's the video, everyone. I hope you guys enjoyed. Of course, follow us. See, you can actually see the Twitter thing down here now. Follow us on Twitter. Subscribe, please. Please, dear God. Do the whole shebang. All the links will be in the description for Reddit or the other aspects of social media. And I hope you guys have a good one. Have a good day.